First of all, you have to take a somewhat medium-term and a long-term view of India. I mean, without a doubt, India is a great story in terms of the long term, in terms of consumption, demand. We have a large population base, it's a young population, and of course, our markets are relatively underpenetrated. So from that point of view, if you take a medium-term outlook of the consumer business, without a doubt, there is a huge potential. Obviously, there will be some cycles in the short term, some sort of periods when you will have a tailwind, and some periods when you'll have some kind of headwinds. I think we are approaching a period now where demand is beginning to pick up, particularly rural demand. So I feel confident that the next couple of years should be good years in terms of consumption in India. And you've of course seen the latest GDP numbers, they're looking better, private consumption actually has gone up. So I think those are all good signs of things to come.
In fact, sir, you prompted me towards my next question. When you speak with large companies, be it consumer durable or discretionary, auto companies, mutual fund companies, all of them are saying that the demand is very healthy when we look at cities beyond the top 50. Tier 3, Tier 4 cities, those numbers are really improving a lot. Do you think Bharat now is waking up? Up till now, India, the urban India was really driving consumption?
Well, it's always been the case that middle India will have the maximum potential. It's always been the case. So I think from my point of view, it's a good sign that we are seeing demand pick up in middle India because these are markets where the middle class is growing and consumption levels are still sort of relatively lower as compared to, say, the big metro cities and so on, which behave very much like some of the other big cities of the developing markets. But for me, the big prize for consumer goods companies is rural. And if we can see rural demand pick up, remember 2/3 of India still lives in the rural areas. And I think to my mind, that's the big one to watch.
So in fact, we did see that volumes of consumer durable companies, FMCG companies, pure consumer, as well as pricing power is now coming back. This is a beautiful combination. Where do you see next couple of quarters, 4 to 8 quarters, 12 quarters? Do you think this vibrancy will continue?
Again, I think you have to sort of take a somewhat holistic view. There has always been a trend towards premiumization in India. It's an interesting phenomenon where I think the two sort of segments or sectors of growth are going to be the mass end, where you'll begin to see what I call a lot of underconsumption and underpenetrated categories kind of come up. And then the second big trend is premiumization, where people want to buy better. So in urban markets, the trend is towards premiumization. And at the bottom end, you need to make sure you still have what I call opening price points. Price points which will allow people and consumers who are currently non-consumers to come and buy our products. So I think it's these two, it's a bipolar kind of situation.
Sure. These are very good observations that you've shared. So do you think this is the reason why some of the overseas companies are looking at Indian companies which have established a nice customer base and are climbing up the size ladder as well, and they become essentially interesting targets for companies which are wanting to expand footprint or want the share of wallet from the Indian consumer?
From a global point of view, yeah. I mean, I worked for a global company for all my life and all my career. You are looking at opportunities in terms of following where the people are and following where the money is. I think the mistake that you must never make is only follow the money. You must follow the people. Because at the end, in our business, people is the potential. So if you have a population base like we have, like China has, Indonesia has, some of the other developing market have, you are obviously going to build a bigger business for the future. The company that I worked for example, Unilever, always believed that our future was in the developing markets. We have the largest footprint in developing markets. We've had the patience and the perseverance to build our businesses in developing markets, and importantly, we have used developing markets as a talent pool for, in fact, for the rest of our business.
In fact, they say in the industry that HUL is the place where managers are trained, and then of course they go in the rest of the industry.
So I think to my mind, India and some of the other big developing markets will always have will always be, if you like, in the radar or on the radar of any global company who wants to expand. And remember, growth is difficult to come by globally. So what everyone's looking for is new opportunities for growth. And India is